Welcome everyone to our special AfterSight Trivia Contest drawing. Thank you all for participating and showing your amazing knowledge in our recent trivia game. Today, one lucky participant will win 2 tickets to the We're Still Here in concert, The Music in the Making. Let's not wait any longer. Here we go. Let's spin the wheel and see who our winner is. And there we have it, folks. Congratulations to Paula. You are the winner of our trivia contest. We'll be in touch with you to arrange the delivery of your tickets. Thank you to everyone who participated and made this event a success.
You're listening to an AINC original podcast. We believe you don't have to do life without a compass. Let us be your guide on this amazing journey. Welcome to Navigating Life with Vision Loss.
Hello and welcome to Navigating Life with Vision Loss. I'm your host, Kim Wardlow. We are in April. Spring has sprung, and we're starting to look at travel because so many people, spring is a great month to travel. It's a great season to travel, but also folks start to think about summer vacations and all of those things. So we're going to be looking at travel for the month of April. Our guest today will be Sue Slater. If you would like to ask Sue a question, you can call us at 720-712-8856, or you can send us an email at feedback@aftersight.org and give us any feedback as well. So Sue, thank you. Thank you for joining us. I know Sue has been in the travel business for many years. She started with fundraising and organizing cruises for individuals with vision loss, and she has several specialty areas. She's a disability specialist, a master cruise counselor. She does destination weddings and honeymoons, a master cruise counselor. She also has a focus in travel in France. Lots of different types of things that she is doing. So all things travel, and an agent herself and a travel lover herself. So welcome to the show, Sue.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for having me on as a guest.
Well, I know you do a lot of cruising and specializing in cruising, and we're going to talk about that in next week's episode. But I thought we could start with kind of laying the beginnings of planning travel when you're blind, but also maybe just giving folks an idea of your own experience, because you don't just help folks with vision loss plan travel. You have vision loss yourself and have done, as you've told me before the show, most of your travel since you have had vision loss. So do you want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I have RP, and I lost my sight over 15 years and have had no sight for the last 42 years. But it's never stopped me from traveling with my late husband, and then traveling with friends and trouble buddies after that. I find that when I travel, I get lots of description from the different tour guides. I look for museums that have people that can give me special tours or have lots of audio description. I find that when I go to different land places, the furthest place I've gone to is Morocco, which was very different from the United States. That just the smells and the sounds and talking to the people is such a rich and cultural travel experience. I've been on 41 cruises, and I've been to all parts of the States and in Europe. And I love travel. I love the experience, and not having sight has never stopped me from experiencing the world. And it shouldn't stop anybody else either with visual impairment or blindness.
Well, and that's really what we want to get into today, Sue, with you, of things that people can do to find hotels and the sightseeing and not being afraid to venture out on their own and looking at different new cities and new locations, especially folks who may have loved travel before and just have felt sometimes when folks lose vision, feeling a bit of their world closing because they feel less sure of themselves as they're traveling. Or we may have listeners that really have never traveled before but would like to. What are the first steps for someone when they're planning a vacation?
The first step is to talk to a travel agent, someone like myself who knows what needs to be navigated to find the best places. Unfortunately, hotels do not have audio description or Alexas in their rooms. So what I do when I travel by myself to a hotel room is I ask if possible, and they have rooms on the first floor, to be put on the first floor. I do not need an accessible room, but if one's available with a walk-in shower, that's great. Being on the first floor makes it easier to navigate to the lobby, to where they have breakfast in the morning, to the pool, or to the workout facilities. I bring with myself to the hotel room, I bring masking tape, I bring my Braille labeler. I ask the person at the desk when they go into the hotel room with me to orient me to where everything is located before they leave. Uh, the best tool to bring with you is your smartphone. There are several apps on your smartphone. I use Ira and Be My Eyes. Ira is a subscription app. Be My Eyes is a free app. They look through your camera. They can tell you how to operate the thermostat in a hotel room, where the towels are, where they keep the toilet paper, how to use the microwave, things like that make it very easy to navigate a hotel room within the first hour that you're actually in it. I look for museums that have audio description and museums that may have educators that will give you special tours. These are things that can be done in advance of the trip. If I put a client on an escorted tour, I let the supplier know that person is blind, that they're going to need extra description, they're going to need help with directions, those kinds of things. I help people with getting airplane tickets, with train tickets, and learning how to navigate the airports. Most airports have a free app with Ira. All these things make traveling and preparing very easy and very simple to do.
Is there anything particular that folks should be looking out for if they're trying to choose a hotel in a location? Perhaps they're not familiar with the location. It's a new place, but they're trying to find a hotel.
Yes, they should try to find a hotel near the sites that they want to see if possible. So, for example, if they were going to France, they might want to have hotels near the museums, or they might want to have a hotel near where the transportation hub is, a subway, or where it would be not very expensive to do Lyft or Uber or share rides with cabs to get to where they want to go. That way, it's very simple for them to get to the different things that they want to do while they're in that city or country.
And what about navigating a new location, a place that you've never been before, just to kind of orient yourself? Where do you start there?
Well, several cities and countries have blind organizations that you can get in touch with before you go and ask them questions about what type of accessible services they might have in that city, as far as talking stoplights, crosswalks, things like that. How easy is it to get from one museum to another, what the sidewalks are like, what their transportation services are like, bus systems, subways, cabs, walking, that kind of thing.
So really that pre-planning and doing some research is really important.
Yes, it is very important. That way there's no surprises.
Right. And have you found differences in accessibility when you're traveling within the U.S. as opposed to different countries?
Yes. The ADA laws that we have here in the States are not as easily accessible in Europe. So as far as having banisters on steps, things that talk, that type of stuff, you're going to find it far and few between compared to what you're finding in the United States. So you need to know about that, and you need to do research to see which cities or countries might have more accessible services. In Europe, London is very big in their accessible services. And they have a very good blind organization called the Royal London Society for the Blind. Each country is different. Streets in Europe are narrow. A lot of them are cobblestones and not so easy to travel. So people need to know that if they're going to Europe and they're going to be by themselves and not with a sighted companion, they need to have really good mobility skills to be able to walk along these sidewalks and across the streets and up and down the steps going in and out of museums.
Mm-hmm. I know people I know that have guide dogs that can often, not just overseas, but even within the U.S., that can often be challenging.
Right. So what people with guide dogs need to know is they need to check with their veterinarians to see what are the correct documents that they need to have to travel throughout the United States and throughout Europe, Mexico, the Caribbean. Each country is different. Some countries still have quarantine laws. Some countries do not have them anymore. If you're traveling in Europe and you want to go from one country to another, there is a pet passport that you can obtain. Again, you can talk to Guide Dogs of America and your own personal veterinarian to find out what you would need to do.
Great. Well, I know even sometimes airlines can offer challenges to folks. Although guide dogs are allowed, sometimes they're not as welcoming as they could be to individuals traveling. So it's always good to kind of check out what you need beforehand.
Right. And each case is different. So you can't really generalize. So that's why it needs to be done on a case-by-case basis, depending on the person's visual impairment, whether or not they use a cane, whether or not they use a guide dog, if they travel by themselves or with a sighted companion.
Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned that London, the UK, has a little bit more accessibility than some places. Are there other countries that you found easier to navigate or more have more accessibility for individuals with vision loss?
I found that Venice in Italy, their museums had a lot of audio description in it. And basically, there were bridges and steps, but they weren't a lot of steps. And navigating Venice was not too hard. I found that being in Greece, depending on the island, was not that bad. Lisbon, Portugal, the heart of Lisbon, Portugal, is very easy to navigate. There's a big square. So it just depends, again, on the part of the country that you're in or the city in the country that you're in as far as what terrain looks like, what the streets look like, what the sidewalks look like, how easy it is to go and walk along the sidewalks across the streets.
And what about maybe individuals not looking to go quite as far afield, maybe wanting to go to Mexico or the Caribbean, that part of the world?
Yeah. Mexico, basically, for people that are visually impaired, the best thing is the all-inclusive resorts where everything is located inside that resort. And then if they wanted to do something outside of the resort, they could do specific tours. And again, the tour operator could be notified that the person had visual impairment. And we just need a little help as far as description, maybe where to go once you get off the bus, things like that. But I find that when you're traveling with a group, the people in the group, once you get to know them, love to help you. Mm-hmm. And it's not really a problem.
Are there particular things you would advise people to watch out for, be on the lookout for as they're traveling or scheduling their traveling?
Yes, I would tell them not to venture out on their own in a country they're not familiar with, in a city they're not familiar with, and to use the same kind of caution they would use in the city where they live or the neighborhood where they would live. And if they're going to be going out at night, to either go out in a group or go out in a cab or Lyft or Uber, just to be safe once they get to where they're going, and to use caution and go into the areas where all the other tourists go. The same thing you would do if you lived in your own city. There's neighborhoods you would not go into, even at 6 a.m. in the morning. And it's the same way when you travel outside of your own city throughout the United States or abroad.
Are there specific agencies that you use? I know you mentioned the one in the UK. Are there other agencies that you use to connect folks with when they're traveling?
Well, what I do is to find out where they're going, to look at the different museums in that area, to look at the different kinds of tours that are available. And again, it depends on the person's level of mobility and how comfortable they are traveling by themselves, or if they're going to be traveling with somebody that's sighted. So, or if they're going to be traveling with their guide dog, and how comfortable they are with their travels. I myself am more comfortable traveling with a sighted companion than traveling by myself, but I've sent lots of people who love to travel by themselves and either travel with their cane or travel with their guide dog and have wonderful experiences. Last year, I sent a young college student who was completely blind to Italy for 9 days with his guide dog to experience the art in Florence and Milan. Next year, I'm enabling a lady who lives in New Zealand to fly to the States and do a 2-week tour going through California, Arizona, and New Zealand. Years ago, I connected an elderly lady with a small safari group to do a safari in Africa, where she was able to enjoy safari and get help from the person that conducted the tour, knowing that she was visually impaired. So those are the kinds of things that I can do as far as land types of vacations. And throughout the United States, in New York, there's a very good organization for the blind. In St. Louis, where I live, there's a very good organization for the blind. In California. So again, it depends on the state and the city, but much more is being done in the United States each year as far as making travel more accessible and making audio description more accessible and being used in more places throughout the United States.
Well, so I think that's a great point, because often I think there's a misconception that, well, if I've lost vision, I can't enjoy travel in the same way, or, my parent, my grandparent, my loved one isn't going to be able to enjoy, going to a museum or going to a particular historic location or event, and a show in the same way, because they're not going to be able to travel in the same way. But I know from your own experience and those that you've worked with, that's just not necessarily not true, especially with more and more places being able to offer audio description.
Yes, I call the way I travel and the things that I do my do-around. I think it should be coined in the Webster Dictionary, okay? And each year with the apps that are available on your iPhone and more audio description, and now with Be My Eyes AI, where pictures can be described to you, it's amazing. It's almost like you're seeing again.
It is amazing how accurate, whether you have a person or even some of the AI now, how accurate the descriptions are and detailed.
And when you go to a play or you go to a sporting event, if audio description is available, And in most cities now, it's available certain times of the year and for certain events, certain baseball games, certain plays, where it's live description. Again, it makes you able to enjoy things you never thought you could enjoy again in the same way.
Right. And again, that's where the planning comes in as well. If you need to look at which dates, if you're wanting to participate in a particular event, go to a particular show, to be able to do that on the day that they have that audio description. Since
Right.
like you said, it's usually not every single show.
No, but like in St. Louis, we have a great theater called the Fox, and for every single play that they do, they have 2 times where you can go and get audio description. It's the same thing in some of the other theaters around St. Louis, some of the baseball games, some of the hockey games, the ice capades, things like that are so visual that you never thought you'd be able to enjoy them again.
Well, and I know the Mind's Eye, the reading service in the St. Louis area, they actually have the teams that do a lot of the audio description at the sporting and theater events. So yeah, you have a good resource there.
Yes, we do. But there are in other cities also, and Mind's Eye can help other cities with training.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. So as you've gone through your career, obviously you're passionate about travel. What makes you passionate about traveling and helping other people to travel?
Knowing that I was able to travel after I lost my sight made me a mission to show other people that they also could travel and enjoy the world. I think it's so important that people know that they can go outside of their homes, outside of their cities, and experience the culture and the museums and the people of other places. One thing that I find so interesting when I go abroad is talking to people that live in that city or that country and find out what they like to eat, how much their homes cost, the kinds of things that they do for a living. It's so interesting. And it makes us realize that in the United States, we're so young as a country compared to all the history and the hundreds and thousands of years in other countries outside of the United States. And it makes you bring back wonderful memories that you have for years.
Do you have a favorite location that you like to travel or a favorite trip that you've taken?
Yes. One of my favorite trips was the first time that I went to Europe. And I went to Italy, Barcelona, France, and Lisbon. And in Barcelona, they have these different buses. And the buses are completely narrated, and they describe the statues and the streets and where you're going from. And when I was in Lisbon, we did 2 tours. One was on a tram and one was on a bus. And again, it was completely audio described. And it even described the different metals of a statue and exactly what it looked like.
Oh, wow.
It described the windows as we were going by, and you could practically touch the bakery window and the ladies hanging up their clothes outside of their apartments. And when I was in France, I was in Nice and Cannes, and we hired a driver. And they took us to the Rothschild estate with several different types of gardens and this beautiful furniture. She even made furniture for her dogs to sleep on and sit on. And just being in these places and experiencing the smells and the sounds and hearing the different languages and then having description of certain sites makes it so exciting and so much fun.
Well, it sounds fun. And now I'm wanting, just to get on a plane and go to Portugal. It's a place I've not been.
I'd be glad to help you.
Do you have, as we're wrapping up today's episode, are there any other final tips you would recommend for people who are wanting to travel this spring or this summer?
Yes. If you're wanting to plan the spring or the summer, you should do it now so you have time to do the research, to find availability, because in the summertime, Europe's very, full and fills up fast with things to do. Alaska fills up fast. So now is a great time to start planning for late spring and all through the summer months.
Great. Well, I look forward to you joining us again next week when we'll be delving into one of your big specialty areas of cruising, and what to look for folks that want to take a cruise. If you would like to reach out to Sue, you can find her at prestomagictravel.com, prestomagictravel.com, prestomagictravel.com. And there's all kinds of information and resources about various kinds of travel and the destination, weddings and honeymoons, and everything is there. So definitely reach out to her there. Speaking of travel, you may want to travel out to Colorado this summer. If you're not venturing further afield, for our annual Audio Trekker hike on July 27th, you can sign up now at aftersight.org/hike. We'll have more details coming soon, but I know we do have some folks planning to come from out of state for our hike this year, so want to invite everyone to come out and hike with us. We do provide sighted guides if that is something that would be of benefit to you. When you register, you can just let us know. I also, as we kind of talked a little bit today about different plays and shows that might have audio description, I also just wanted to share with you that we will be also giving away some tickets for the Empathy Theater Project production in April, on April 14th. So stay tuned for that. That will be happening here soon. I think we're going to have some trivia questions for you to answer and some things like that. So that will be coming up. And if you're interested, it's here in Boulder at eTown Hall, April 14th. So stay tuned if that's something you're interested in, because we will have 2 tickets coming up for that. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you join us for the next episode on cruising, and I hope the information we provided to you today helps you to navigate your life with vision loss.